What I love about that fight is when you have a young guy who's up and coming and looks good, even if there are little bumps along the way, and it feels like it is his destiny to do something.
What we all have to realize is what Jake is trying to compare himself to, or at least draw a comparison with, and his skills are not the reality of his skills, at least not that we've seen. So even if Jake is right about what you can do to mitigate what AJ does well, I don't think that he's right that he's the one that can do that.
Of course, you know, he's gonna defeat you, but I don't believe he can land those punches. And he lands them on the bigger, slower guys who are sitting right in front of him. Everyone's like, did you see Francis Ngannou, what he did to Francis Ngannou? It's like the guy's feet stuck in mud. He's just sitting there, didn't do anything.
Max Kellerman believes a showdown between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua has the ingredients for genuine drama. He points out that Paul is entering the fight driven by a need to validate himself and demonstrate that his boxing ambitions are real. Joshua, on the other hand, has already established his legacy and doesn't feel the same pressure to prove anything. According to Kellerman, those opposing mindsets make the bout difficult to predict, leaving the door open for surprises once the bell rings.
Competition. Throw him in there, may the best man win, and when the dust settles and the two guys are standing...
Kellerman goes on to argue that if Jake Paul wants full credibility in the boxing world, a win over Anthony Joshua is essential. He views this matchup as a defining opportunity for Paul to demonstrate that his goals in the sport are serious and not just talk. Max notes that Paul appears genuinely invested in building a long-term boxing career, and in his opinion, this fight represents the clearest measure yet of how committed Jake truly is.
Or the boxing world may see your future.
Max Kellerman has made it clear that Anthony Joshua deserves immense respect for his accomplishments in the sport. At the same time, he notes that Jake Paul's age could play a meaningful role in the matchup. Because of that, Kellerman believes Joshua can't afford to be complacent. He insists AJ will need to show up fully prepared, bringing maximum intensity, conditioning, and concentration. In Max's view, victory requires Joshua to perform at his absolute peak when the fight takes place.
I like that. You're not going to outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering the counter, you're going to lose that fight. Joshua has to impose his size, strength, youth, go to the body. He has to be willing to...
Max Kellerman has reflected on Anthony Joshua's recent outings, noting that there have been occasions where he hasn't looked at his sharpest. Because of that, Kellerman believes Joshua will need to deliver a near-flawless performance on fight night. He adds that as a heavyweight, Joshua must impose himself with greater force and command. Given AJ's limited activity in the ring lately, Max argues that showing up at full strength and authority is even more crucial in this matchup.
Joshua, at his best, on his best night, was a great heavyweight, and so it's in there.
Analyst Wade weighed in on the matchup, pointing out that Anthony Joshua moving around at roughly 260 pounds and still hunting knockout speaks volumes about his natural power. He also questioned Jake Paul's claim that he's a more technically skilled fighter, admitting that assertion caught him off guard. While Wade acknowledges Paul's confidence, he argues that Paul's previous bouts don't fully support it. He notes that against Chavez Jr., Paul had moments where he looked solid, but never showed the level of technical growth or refinement that Joshua has developed over a long professional career. According to Wade, AJ's experience, footwork, and ring awareness place him in an entirely different class, and Paul's fundamental skill set won't be enough to close that gap.
Says that his skills are better than AJ, and I just don't know where the evidence of that is. Like, I understand Jake is confident in himself, but point to me a fight where Jake showed better skill. I don't see it. And again, Jake is always telling us how he never gets to show the skills. He never gets to show the skills. He just went through a full fight with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and nothing in that fight made me go, wow, he's more skillful than Anthony Joshua. Even when you go back and look at the Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk 2 fight, AJ showed more skill in that fight than he had in a loss. I understand that, but then he had in a lot of his other heavyweight fights. That showed evolution. That showed him dedicated to the sweet science. So again, Jake's talking out of his ass here, at least from what we've seen. If he's gotten into camp and after the Mike Tyson fight and after the Chavez Jr. fight and he's turned into a different beast, then we'll see that. But nothing in his previous repertoire of fights shows me that he's better skill for skill than Anthony Joshua. Not even better, size, whatever, but skill for skill. I haven't seen anything that's much different than AJ. He calls AJ a basic fighter. I haven't seen Jake do anything but the basics, like catch counters, combination punches at times, but he still sticks with the basics, and he gets by on his power and his size. It's almost like Jake is saying the things that people say about him.
Well, it sounds like he's happy that you're coming in 245. I also was going to bring that up, but we'll talk about it now, that you said you didn't believe he had a bunch of skills and that you would kick his ass and that this was a fight that you basically wanted. Not recently, you've been saying it for a minute. What about his skills tells you that you're a better skill fighter than him?
Good question, Cam.
Yeah, he's
He's a
just
fucking Olympic gold medalist, dog.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time, and he's great. And if you get caught with that one punch, or, you know, obviously he has a lot of power punches. If you get caught, of course, you know, he's gonna defeat you. But I don't believe he can land those punches. And he lands them on the bigger, slower guys who are sitting right in front of him. Everyone's like, did you see Francis Ngannou, what he did to Francis Ngannou? It's like the guy's feet stuck in mud. He's just sitting there, didn't do anything, and just got fucking nailed with a big-ass shot. So, yeah, if I get hit with that shot, I'm screwed. But I don't believe he's going to hit me with those shots.
It's, in theory, a good idea to do what Jake is saying, but in practice, it's completely different than what Jake thinks. Like, again, it's only 8 rounds, so I don't think that Jake is going to completely gas, but him being on his feet and moving versus a guy like Nate Diaz or a guy like Tommy Fury, who both did pressure him and did, you know, and even Anderson Silva pressured him and made him, you know, get on his bike a little bit. That's different than the pressure and the weight and the size of Anthony Joshua bearing down on you for 8 rounds, because Joshua's going to take forward steps the entire fight. He's going to pressure what he is, what he's done to Usyk. And if you did want to make a comparison there, like, yeah, obviously what AJ did to Francis is not going to be the same here because Francis wanted to engage in that back and forth. Francis is also a big-time power puncher, just didn't have the skills to keep up. But you look at what AJ did, and it was a very timid fight, I will say, in the Ruiz second fight, but he won that fight exclusively with his jab. If AJ wants to win this fight with his jab, he could. Jake is banking on the fact that AJ...
Joey Knight approaches fight analysis by stripping away the hype and concentrating on factors like experience, technical skill, and ring intelligence. When breaking down Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul, Knight highlights that Joshua, weighing around 245 pounds, remains an imposing heavyweight. He references AJ's past wins over elite opponents as evidence of that. According to Knight, that size doesn't provide Paul with any meaningful edge in this matchup. He also underscores how critical high-level coaching and technical development are at this stage, adding that the vast experience gap makes detailed comparisons with Paul largely irrelevant.
That way. I actually think that when AJ's been heavier, he's been easier to hit. So if the AJ that fought Andy Ruiz the second time around goes in there and gets in against Jake Paul, it's going to be a long night for Jake Paul. And by the way, around 245 pounds, he went the distance twice with Alexander Usyk in relatively close fights. He chinned Pulev, beat Ruiz, chinned Povetkin, chinned Brazil, chinned Martin, chinned Dillian White. In fact, he chinned more or less fucking everyone in and around that weight, all the way up until he fought Joseph Parker. Yeah, having AJ at 245 pounds serves Jake no purpose. There's no advantage to be gained there whatsoever.
We got
As you should. You definitely needed to change coaches.
And we got skills as well.
You definitely needed to change coaches, so I'm glad.
Now, this is the first time that I'm starting to try and analyze Jake Paul here, but for me, I kind of think it's pointless. Like, I fight, and I understand that I'm not fighting anywhere near the scale of Jake Paul. I'm nowhere near the size of Jake Paul. But Jake Paul going in with AJ would be like me going in with a world-level light heavyweight or something like that. And if I was sat across the room from them and having to tell them how I'd beat them, I'd probably be terrified too. But assuming he's not, and we actually just judge his body language, you can see that in this clip of him, he doesn't look that comfortable. He's not really making eye contact with Anthony Joshua, at least not after he says what he's got to say. And does this show that he isn't as confident in the words that he's speaking? Who knows? All I will say is, if you look at this moment where he's actually talking to AJ about their fight, and then you compare it to this next clip where they're having a conversation about something they did together outside of boxing, I think you'll probably see a big difference.
We got
As you should. You definitely needed to change coach.
Boxing analyst added Oladipo evaluates matchups by balancing public hype with what fighters have actually shown in the ring, always placing performances in proper context. When discussing Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua, he acknowledges that some believe Paul could pose problems, but stresses that Joshua's size, strength, and high-level experience can't be overlooked. Oladipo expects AJ to enter fight night weighing close to 255 pounds, carrying the kind of power that can end a contest instantly. He also points out that Joshua is far from finished as a fighter, even after setbacks like the knockdown against Du Bois. While Paul has made visible strides and often looks sharp in training footage, Oladipo warns that impressive gym clips don't always carry over against a disciplined, battle-tested heavyweight. In his view, a fully focused Joshua remains among the elite in the division.
AJ, some problems. We're like, what are we doing? Like, let's understand what we're talking about here. We're talking about Anthony Joshua. And I know some people like to shit on AJ, like he's done, he's chinny. We're still talking about a 255 pound, by the time fight night rolls around, heavyweight with destructive power, who's not done, who's not chinny. Yes, he got hit by Dubois and got knocked down. I mean, Dubois could knock down a lot of heavyweights. For me, AJ is still, when his mind's right, a top 10 heavyweight. Against, in Jake Paul, someone that I would say, I mean, he's looked good in those clips, right? I'll give him that. He looks good on the heavy bag as well. I'll give him that. But I've seen area level guys fucking tear up heavy bags. You know what I mean? I've seen guys that are 2-0 fucking look great on heavy bags. So I'm not fooled by many with that clip. Although I will say Jake does look really good, especially when you consider where Jake's come from. But Jake, I don't even know if Jake's an area level fighter. And if he were, he would be an area level cruiserweight, which again, I don't know if he's that. I don't think he is. Personally, I don't think he is that. Against a former two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world who just fought for the IBF heavyweight title. No. The narrative won't be spun with me. I said when this fight was made that AJ, in fact, I have kind of given Jake a bit more respect. I think when this fight was first announced, I said AJ knocks him.
True Geordie focuses on the psychological battle behind the Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul matchup, emphasizing how mindset can be just as decisive as physical skill. He describes Paul as someone trying to control the narrative, but notes that for Jake to appear even remotely competitive, his mental toughness has to be unshakable. Geordie explains that any sign of doubt or hesitation would be instantly picked up by Joshua, a ruthless competitor in the ring who capitalizes on weakness without mercy, a trait Geordie links to AJ's lion imagery. Despite the risks, he credits Paul for having the nerve to take on a heavyweight of Joshua's caliber, pointing out that courage is required regardless of the financial reward. Ultimately, the breakdown highlights how mental preparation can heavily influence a fighter's performance, sometimes as much as raw power or technique.
I'm gonna be the one laughing when I fuck your whole world up. And as much as people can say that's absolute lunacy, I think Jake understands that the only way he can have a prayer of doing anything good in this fight, even whether winning is even beyond the realms of possibility, to just even look good, there needs to be mental strength coming in here. If he is afraid and he is acting scared in any way, and Anthony Joshua smells that, there's a reason he's got a fucking lion tattooed on him. Anthony Joshua, he is a predator. He can't show any weakness whatsoever if he wants to even have any good performance here. So I give him credit for some mental strength, and look, I give him credit for showing the balls to sign on the dotted line, even if he is getting paid a shitload. He already had a shitload of money. This is a very dangerous fucking situation he's putting himself in.
When you watch Jake Paul, what do you see as far as a boxer is concerned? And do you think that you're in any danger whatsoever?
I see someone who is trying to perfect his skills, someone who is trying to perfect his boxing skills. So in boxing, you have fighters that box at long distance, mid distance, short range, some fighters that brawl, some fighters that walk forward like Pitbull, that come forward with their hands up. Jake's trying to become a boxer, and I respect it. I think that's probably one of the hardest styles to perfect.
Right.
You know, hit, be slick, not get hit, look for that knockout punch. And he's taking the hard road doing it that way, because most people will go into a gym and just try to fight. But Jake's taking that road to try and be a good boxer, and I respect it. Now he's gonna come up against someone who took that road as well when I first went in the gym, tried to perfect my boxing skills, and still standing on that today.
Right.
So I'm maybe 17, 18 years as a fighter now that's been trying to perfect my boxing skills. So he's gonna come against someone who's been doing exactly what he's doing for a lot longer.
Let's just deep that. What are you, 5 years into your journey? I'm 18 years into this journey. And by the way, I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. And I think Anthony Joshua has been quite polite there in not disrespecting his opponent and trying to show him like, okay, I don't want to say that you're shit or anything, but I'm levels up the ladder, man. I've done all the things that you're doing now, and I did them over a decade ago. In fact, a decade ago, he was fighting for professional titles. And that 18 years experience should make it very easy when you consider the type of matchups Anthony Joshua has been in, trying to figure out Alexander Usyk. It should make it so simple for him. When he watches Jake Paul, he should see holes left, right, and center.
Dave Allen has offered his thoughts on the idea of Anthony Joshua facing Jake Paul, describing the situation as surprising, even with the enormous financial incentive involved. He looks back on Joshua's career trajectory and suggests the bout could function as a preparatory step ahead of potential clash with Tyson Fury, while also cautioning that a defeat in that kind of matchup could signal the close of Joshua's time at the very top of the sport. Allen reflects on AJ's resume, highlighting his Olympic gold medal, 2 reigns as world heavyweight champion, and wins over elite competition, while acknowledging the losses that came along the way. He places Joshua among the greatest British heavyweights of his era, just a tier below figures like Lennox Lewis, and believes that as time passes, fans will come to appreciate Joshua even more for his achievements, resilience, and lasting impact on boxing.
Yeah.
Is it in danger at all?
I'm not sure, because my hope is Joshua walks across, hits him a couple of times, he goes over, he gets up at the count of 10, they wave it off. Boxing's reputation is intact. Jake Paul is okay, they all make loads of money, and we move on to probably the next ridiculous thing that'll happen soon.
What about from Anthony Joshua's point of view? He takes this fight. He probably has a warm-up fight. He fights Tyson Fury. Who knows? If he loses the Tyson Fury fight, that could be it for him. So this could be the last memorable thing he does in what has been a very, very good career. So what about his legacy, if you like? Does that matter?
He had a great career. Olympic gold medal, 2-time world champion. Beat some great fighters. He lost to some great fighters as well. So I would remember him as one of the best British heavyweights we've had. I don't think he's as good as Lennox Lewis, but he ain't too far off. I think in 20 years' time we'll remember him more fondly. I think we'll always remember them that have gone before us more fondly. So he's won the heavyweight title twice. He won the Olympic gold medal, and I think more than that, he put British boxing on his back and he carried it to another level completely. I wouldn't be sat here without him. He took us out of. I remember when I started watching boxing, there was all in like leisure centres. I remember watching boxing as a kid on Sky. There was in leisure centres like Robin Park in Wigan, or Donny Dome, or Ponds Forge. Anthony Joshua and Matchroom Boxing, they took us to the O2.
Host of the Real Exos podcast talked about the impact Jake Paul has had on boxing since stepping into the sport. They pointed out how he's managed to generate enormous attention, build a massive following, and bring in huge revenue, quickly becoming a major presence despite his limited time as a professional fighter. The discussion traced the origins of this movement back to Deji, whose trip to Los Angeles helped set the wheels in motion for the Logan Paul KSI bout and the eventual brother versus brother spectacle. From there, Jake has consistently followed through on his promise to shake up the boxing world by producing headline-making events. The host stressed that his influence can't be measured solely by wins or losses, arguing that he's reshaped how boxing engages modern audiences and continues to push bold, industry-altering ideas.
Bro, no one in the landscape of boxing since he came around in boxing has done what he's done. No. In terms of the magnitude, the followers, the amount of money he's accumulated.
And even when you see his box record, it looks brazy.
It looks good, man. Big him up, man. There to be great. He's doing his thing, man.
Yeah,
it's funny how you just find your passion in life or your calling.
Yeah.
Because it was Deji flew to LA,
It's Deji, Deji
that
done that.
sparked him. That was the catalyst in making this whole thing happen.
It did.
Big up Deji, man.
Big up Deji.
Big up Deji.
Yeah,
he flew to LA.
He deserves some commission for this.
Who was
for
it?
his career.
Jake threw the gloves on the floor.
That's
like,
it. Yeah,
let's go now.
That's where it all started.
All started because of him.
2018.
That's what made the Logan and KSI fight happen.
Yeah, because then they now had
Deji flew to LA.
Now they had the super show of brother v brother.
Yeah.
That's what people are not getting.
Yeah.
That's why it was a big deal. Because you had two little brothers and the two big brothers fighting on the same show. Are you mad?
Yeah.
Serious things. And that's why they are where they are. Jake has only continued to do what he said he would do, which is disrupt the game and do the biggest things. And he does find a way to do the biggest things, even if it means fighting the smallest person or the oldest person. He still does what's a big
But I
thing.
think it was that training camp for Gibb. That's when it clicked in him or changed him.
Which
really
one?
and truly? Jake.
Oh yeah.
Because Gibb was still thinking he's the old school Jake. No, my man's grown now. He was in Big Bear.
That was the first camp he switched up. And he said, I'm gonna fight properly. Yeah.
His body's changing. Yeah, done well, man.
So he's done his thing, but I still expect him to be detonated on December the 19th.
Of course.
But otherwise, boxing's ruined, bro.
That wraps things up for today's video. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next one.